Hello, what a big audience. Well, even though it is a big audience, I would like to talk to you in a very intimate way because I personally like intimacy, and when I hear the story of any woman in an intimate way, I always learn something and I'm always inspired by something. When I was a little girl in Belgium, Brussels, Belgium, I did not know what I wanted to do, but I knew the kind of woman I wanted to be. I wanted to be a woman who is independent, who can pay her own bills, and somehow who could drive her own bus. Where's the timing here? For all of you, I see a lot of very, very young women here. So when you are at the beginning of your life and you don't particularly have a vocation, there are all these doors in front of you, and you don't know what door to take. And sometimes the door you take is, or the best door for you, is not the most glamorous one. And that's why my advice to you would be just be very, very curious and don't just say, oh, I don't think so. Just give everything a chance. My door actually was in a factory in Italy. It was a printing factory. The Italian man I worked for used to print scarves. He prints silk scarves for Gucci, for Ferragamo, and for a lot of other people. And I just sat there listening to him, not thinking I was learning anything. But I learned how you buy illustration, how you take these illustration and put it in repeat, how you make a color palette, all the different technique about printing. And even though I didn't think I was learning anything, I learned so much. And I was very lucky because in Italy, in those factories, the workers that were working there, the colorist, his father was a colorist and his grandfather was a colorist. And so they were really workers, but they really are artisans and sometimes even artists. As he was doing very well with his factory, he needed more space. Printing plants take a lot of space. And so therefore, he bought the factory next door. He bought the factory next door because before that, it was a manufacturer of hose. None of you know what a nylon hose is? Well, that is what we wore before. They were pantyhoses. But pantyhoses were just created, and therefore the company of hoses went out of business and sold the walls of their factories. The Italian man who bought it looked at this, and he didn't like the idea of throwing all these machines out. And he said, how can I use these machines in something else? So he brought in a yarn manufacturer like DuPont, and they developed a yarn that was thicker than the nylon, but that would go in these tubular machines. And that's how jersey fabric was created. Okay? So printing, jersey fabric. So he started to make T-shirts. And now, of course, everybody has worn T-shirts, but at the time, T-shirts were not something that women wore. Only men wore T-shirts, and they wore it as underwear. But Brigitte Bardot in Saint-Tropez started to wear a colorful T-shirt, and then came the world of T-shirt. So he took this T-shirt, and he started printing on them. Okay, so printing T-shirt. Then he needed a factory to make those he made the jersey to make these T-shirts. And he bought another factory with very, very thin needle that could actually sew on this very thin fabric. And I was there when all of this happened. I still thought I wasn't doing anything, and certainly I was wasting my time in that place. I then went to visit my boyfriend who I had met at university, and he was in New York, and he was doing a training program at Chase Manhattan Bank in New York. So I went there to visit him for 6 weeks. My mother gave me, for my birthday, a ticket to go to America. I had never been to America. I was so excited. Here I am in New York, and I so much want to stay, but I so much want to be independent, and what am I going to do, and all of that. But in New York, I started looking at the world in a different way. I saw that fashion was different than it was in Europe, and I also saw that it was a huge market, because there was just a lot of people and a lot of stores and a lot. So when I went back to the factory after my stay in New York, I looked at this factory in a completely different way. And I thought to myself, wow, maybe I can use this, try to make some samples of something, and try to go back to America and sell it. So meanwhile, I got engaged and I got married, and so I went to this Italian man. I said, listen, I'm getting married. I'm also going to have a baby. It all went very, very fast, faster than I expected. And I said, I'm going to America. I'm getting married. I'm going to America. I'm going to have a child. Can I please make a few samples from your factory, and I am going to try to sell them when I am in New York? And he said, sure. So I came back to America. I didn't know anything with my few little dresses. I didn't know anything. I worked out of my dining room table. I had 2 babies. I started to sell a little bit, and then I would come and try to get the samples made, and he would get upset. I don't have a sample room here. I have a factory. Little by little, I made little t-shirt dresses, and then I came up with this nice little top that looked like a ballerina top and a matching skirt. And that went very well. So I thought, maybe I should turn that into a dress. And that's when the wrap dress was born. And it was immediately a huge success. Why? I don't know. I don't know. Somehow it was, wrap dresses had existed before because it's basically a dress that doesn't have a zipper or button. But that was jersey, and so it tightened the body, and it was printed, and my prints were moved very well, so every woman felt very empowered, and she felt like a leopard empowered. And it looked very proper. It looked proper, but yet it was sexy. So the guys liked them, but their mothers didn't mind. So I started going around. I was getting more and more confident, and as I was getting confident, I made, because it was through a dress, I made women also confident. And that's when I started my dialogue with women. And the rest is history, and if you want to read my book, you can read it, and there's a lot of ups and downs, and I wrote this book with so much honesty because otherwise, what's the point of writing a book? Anyway, so the dialogue with women was very, very interesting. But another piece of advice that I want to tell all of you, especially the young ones, is at the end, the dialogue that is the most important is the one you have with yourself. Because the most important relationship in life is the one you have with yourself. When you have that, any other relationship is a plus and not a must. So remember that. So I see the timer, so I have to rush because I want to tell you a lot of things. So one of the things that is very important, if you want to know, that explains the woman that I am, is the fact that 18 months before I was born, my mother was a prisoner of war. She was in the Nazi concentration camp of Auschwitz for 13 months. When she came out, she weighed 49 pounds. But she did survive. She survived. She went back home in Belgium. She gained her weight back. She married her fiancé. And even though the doctor said you absolutely have to wait 5 years before you have a child because you won't survive and the child will not be normal, I was born 9 months later and I was not normal. So my mother, and that explains so much who I am, my mother always said, God saved me so that I can give you life. By giving you life, you gave me my life back. You are my torch of freedom. So the torch of freedom is what I carry in my hand, and that's helped me all along, because she always said, fear is not an option. So she never allowed me to be afraid. If I was afraid of the dark, she would lock me in the dark closet. Today she would probably go to jail, but as a result, I'm not afraid. And I think that's really important. What I have learned over the years is all women are strong. I have never met a woman who is not strong. Sometimes there's a brother, a father, a religion, but most often it's themselves. They're afraid to show their strength. Maybe it's not attractive, maybe it's not sexy, maybe it's not feminine, maybe it makes my husband feel small. But the truth is, you don't have to show your strength all the time, as long as you know that you have it. And that is really important. Last night I was speaking to a group of women, and I was telling them that. And then I got back in my car, and I'm having all kinds of issues at work. And I thought, you know what? What kind of an idiot I am? I preach, and sometimes I don't even practice what I preach. So this morning I felt very energetic, because as I tell all of you to use your own strength, I'm also telling myself that. And we really have to say that all the time, every day. The other day, I do Tai Chi. Do you know what Tai Chi is? It's some kind of martial. It's very good. It empowers you. And I was speaking that same afternoon, and I was kind of thinking what I was going to speak about, because I was talking with a judge of Supreme Court, and so I was a little intimidated. And then my Tai Chi teacher said, wait, think about your intention. And I said, what? What did you just say? He said, intention. I said, tell me more. And he said, and this is my gift to you, because it was a gift to me. If you only practice your power, you fail. If you only practice your energy, you stagnate. But if you practice your intention, and you spend a lot of time on your intention, on why and how and the purpose, and you never spend enough time on your intention, then you will get the energy and the power. So voila, that's my present. Don't worry if you did not understand it, because I told my husband he didn't understand it either. So if you don't understand it, never mind. If you do understand it, practice it. So as I only have a minute to go, I am looking today at my life, and I've had a very full life. And I'm thinking, what do I do? What do I want to do for the next 10 years in order to be, as I embrace my age, and what do I want to do, and how do I stay relevant? And my intention really is to use my voice. To use my voice for people who have no voice, and to use my voice also to connect people with voices, with people who have no voices, and create this network of voices. So between now and my birthday, which is New Year's Eve, I am going to work on my intention on how I'm going to use my voice. But because there are so many of you today, even though I'm not ready to announce how to do it, how I will create this network, I have created an email address. So if you want to register, it's voices@dvf.com. Thank you. Bye-bye.